9. We'll hear from Martin O'Neill today. He was in Dublin this afternoon and sat down with Jamie Moore in a one-on-one chat, so we'll bring you that before 8 o'clock. And we will talk to Dr. Ross Tucker about a very complicated situation, the new testosterone ruling, which will certainly hamper Caster Semenya. And we'll also talk about the possibility of an intersex category of competition within possibly the next decade. It's something the IAAF are talking about very seriously. Plus League of Ireland with Dan McDonald, who is here in studio. Hello, Dan.
Hi, Joe.
You're very welcome. Good to have you in. 53106, the text number. We are on Twitter @OffTheBall, and we are streaming as ever right across our social channels. And Richie is here as well. Hello.
Hey, Joe.
So, a big European night kicking off very shortly, and it includes tomorrow as well, this European week. Jurgen Klopp was just giving his press conference, Dan, in the last hour or so, and certainly, like a lot of people, he's concerned about the talk of violence pre-game. We all know what happened to Sean Cox last weekend. Here's just a snippet of what Klopp's been talking about.
I think we all have the same opinion, and it's a football game, and the fight around the football game is only on the pitch. And the rules are the football rules. And everybody who doesn't accept these rules will be sent off. So that's clear. And it was always like this and should be always like this. So and I really hope that after 1 week where we spoke a lot about it, and it was good that we spoke about it because Sean Cox should feel our support. Should feel our support, and his family should feel and hear our support. That I really hope that everybody understood that tomorrow around the game in this wonderful city in a probably good weather, all the people can walk to the stadium and looking forward to a fantastic, intense, very important football game. And I really hope that will be possible.
We all hope it, obviously. I'm sure lots of people will be taking off from Dublin Airport tomorrow and around the country. Jonathan Northcroft, did you see, had a piece in the Sunday Times? It was the front page of the Sunday Times, which is rare enough, and it was about the genuine worries that Italian police have. They had Andrea Cicchini, who was their representative of the Italian police. Now, I don't know how much he helped the situation, because he blamed the British authorities for what happened in Liverpool, said it's totally their fault. And he said what's about to happen now is he reckoned 1,000 English ultras were going to come over and team up with Lazio and run amok. Cicchini, I don't know if he was helping the situation, but that was the Italian police version of events anyway. Yeah,
I mean, I was doing a piece on this last week, and I know it's been touched on across the show and so on, and certainly, you know, it's of all the places to be going, you know, Rome is a place with a fairly complex history and even, you know, tied in with the role of the police as well. And I think Daniel Taylor wrote about this recently, harking back to Manchester United's visit to play Rome in, I think, around 2008, where there was actually disturbances involving fans of both clubs. But then afterwards, I think the English journalists that were leaving the ground happened upon the police having their debrief, where they were sort of regaling each other with tales of how they'd sort of baton charged and got involved with some of the fans, you know, with some of the visiting English fans. And certainly the big takeaway I think the English press took from that trip was, you know, there was an overzealous treatment as well. Now, the flip side of that is that they are used to dealing with this on a very regular basis. I mean, the Rome derby itself is pretty vicious affair. You know, it has a history, and you forget that this is sort of ingrained to a point in. I'm very conscious of generalising and towering like all ultras and everyone is bad, which is not the case at all. But you know, these clubs have, when I say the clubs, I mean Roma and Lazio, have history, and yet they're very powerful and influential fan groupings within the governance of those respective clubs. You see stories of you know, Francesco Totti and others, you know, negotiating with fans on the pitch. There was one famous game, I think, that was stopped because there was actually a show of unity between the two ultras from both fans, because there was a story went around that the cops had been involved in some disturbances earlier that day, you know. So it's I didn't think, they're not helpful comments from the police, because they've sometimes been aggressive enough in dealing with it too and inflaming things.
Well, two things in that. He also said that Liverpool training at Lazio's training ground in the build-up to this game was inflammatory. He said this is a genius idea of getting the Reds to train at Formello, only fueling a possible union of Liverpool and Lazio ultras.
That's nonsense.
Now, Liverpool came out and said, we haven't had one fan even arrested on all our European trips this season. And actually, the other interesting point, Joe Bernstein had it in the Mail on Sunday. For all the, I guess, quote-unquote expertise the Italian police might have when it comes to dealing with hooliganism, their methods are regarded as outdated now. So best practice, say in England, might be to have undercover police people involved in the general crowd, and they'll spot the leaders or the troublemakers and have a better sense of when it's about to kick off. The feeling was the Italian police still just kind of like to monitor the thing from a distance with their batons in hand, and then when things kick off, they're more than happy to kick off with them. So it's less preventative than it could
definitely
be.
Now, I mean, the only point you can make in their defence is that they do deal with more regular disturbances, and they probably have to be conditioned to it. But the flip side is, I mean, the culture around Italian football isn't, hugely sophisticated at times in terms of dealing with conflicts. I'm thinking of the broader sort of, issues of racism. I'm thinking about some of the people that, elected officials in their football association who've got a curious history when it comes to this stuff. So they have a sort of an old school method of dealing with this, which, and I'm not saying English football is cured and healed, and there haven't been instances where, fans overseas have caused problems. We've seen with the English national team even a slight rise of that in recent years again. So let's not pretend it's all Italy sort of bad and England good. And we don't know that there won't be elements that will latch on, because this game's got a bit of potential with it. But what we do know is that there is reasonable and rational fears that innocent people going over to a game could get caught up in something. And for a high-end Champions League semi-final in 2018, it's pretty disappointing that would be the case, and really no one seems certain that it can be avoided. That's the thing. There's no this will be fine, there is no sense about that.
There's an ominous sense, really. And Liverpool, according to that Northcroft piece, now this was on Sunday, so maybe things have improved, but they seem to be very frustrated in their efforts to try and secure important safety information. He says bus routes supporters can take to the stadium. Despite repeated inquiries, the Italians hadn't replied. So and that was even before they were frustrated, it seemed, before things went badly awry last Tuesday. So it's front page news, and that's Klopp in the last hour or so. He's really trying to reiterate that point. Things kick off though, Richie, as we kick off your news round, and we are here with Air, home of Air Sport. Get amazing live sporting content free with Air Broadband. Tonight we kick off in Madrid, and Bayern, just like last season, go there with a 2-1 deficit.
And they have to score twice tonight at the Bernabeu if they're to maintain any hope of reaching this year's Champions League final. In Kiev, they go into tonight's semi-final second leg, as Joe mentions, 2-1 down on holders Real Madrid. The teams are in. A couple of changes for both. Real Madrid start with Keylor Navas in goal. Lucas Vasquez starts at right full in place of Dani Carvajal. The rest of the back four is then unchanged with Sergio Ramos, Rafael Varane and Marcelo. Mateo Kovacic comes in for Casemiro in midfield, and he's joined there by Toni Kroos and Luka Modric. Up front, it's Marco Asensio, Cristiano Ronaldo and Karim Benzema. For Bayern, Sven Ulreich starts in goal yet again. Goal scorer from last week, Joshua Kimmich, is at right full, with Mats Hummels joined by Nicolas Sula in for the injured Jerome Boateng at centre half. David Alaba returns at left full, which means Thiago Alcantara is in midfield, along with club record signing Corentin Tolisso. Javi Martinez is on the bench for them. James Rodriguez, Thomas Müller, Frank Ribery and Robert Lewandowski are up front for them, and kickoff is at 7:45.
So we'll talk to Graham Hunter pre-match. We'll have Jonathan Northcroft with us at full time. Jupp Heynckes, their final training session there before the match, were doing a penalty shootout, and
it was just to settle a training game, Joe. That's what he says.
Came over to
so they say. That story will be saved, and depending on how things go, if we go that way, that story will be respun in a different way.
As he said, no, we just finished in a draw, the practice match. The interesting comment of the week came from Franz Beckenbauer, who says, I fear we have a complex with Madrid. 6 in a row Bayern haven't managed to overturn them. Like, really, last year they went to the Bernabeu 2-1 down from the first leg in the quarterfinals, and actually Boston midfield were very on top of that game. It went to extra time, and as is the way with this Madrid team, even when they don't light it up, they found a way to win.
They always do. And I mean, the way the competition's gone this year, you'd be surprised if it was all very routine tonight. I think you do sometimes see with this team that's going away for the second leg with the nothing to lose line, like they'll give us something, but they're just disappointing, Bayern, when it came to the crunch last week. Even the last sort of quarter of the game was sort of, let's get the ball to Ribery. You sort of could telegraph a lot of what they were doing, and it wasn't that Madrid were comfortable, because they didn't it wasn't like a display that was oozing with like conviction and quality.
No.
They just did enough. But you almost felt like a better team, or a team that's playing better, would have done the job, would have not lost that game. So I'm sure we'll get some drama. Hopefully we will, like we did in the quarterfinals. Sometimes when there's a very clear cut 90-minute job here, you might get some kind of response from them.
Yeah, Gareth Bale looking on again forlornly.
He scored at the weekend, I think, Bale, as well.
He was their best player at the weekend by all accounts. I didn't see the game. He scored. It was a 2-1 win. He was the quote was back to his best.
I think once he played on Saturday, though, he probably had an idea what was coming.
They made 10 changes. I mean, it was very much the B team where Gareth Bale seems to reside at the moment. So we'll see, does he get on this evening. You would think with Vasquez at right back and Asensio starting, that surely Bale now will be the first substitute. But
it depends on the situation, though, doesn't it? He's the first sub if they're chasing something.
Yeah.
If not, it'll be Casemiro or someone. They'll look for a different type of switch. If
they're chasing it and Gareth Bale doesn't come on,
that's when you make the calls to your agent. You've probably made already.
Yeah, it's several times. So, interestingly, the Roma squad were cognizant of Sean Cox's situation.
Yeah, they were training today in Rome ahead of tomorrow's semi-final second leg with Liverpool. Across their training jerseys with the words "Forza Sean" in tribute to the Dunboy man Sean Cox, who remains in critical condition following an attack by Roma fans last week. On the playing front, they'll be without Kevin Strootman and penalty scorer from last week Diego Perotti for tomorrow night's game, both injured. Adam Lallana travelled with the Liverpool squad but won't be involved, having not seen action in a month. Joe Gomez is definitely out of tomorrow's game. Meanwhile, Mo Salah was today crowned the Football Writers Association Player of the Year. It adds to his PFA award for this season, which has seen him score to date 43 goals. Jurgen Klopp was asked in that press conference that we heard from earlier on how a winger cut adrift at Chelsea turned into such a goal scorer.
Each striker in the world doesn't start as an 18-year-old boy as the goal getter. He needs to make his own experiences, and that's what Mo did in very difficult circumstances, coming early from Egypt to Switzerland and doing all that journey and carrying all that responsibility for all the people, or maybe meanwhile for a whole country, and he really is quite cool with it. And at the end, he has good teammates. They love helping him, and they love how he helps them, and that's it.
It's going to be interesting to see what the average Mo Salah season is going forward.
Yeah, he sort of raised the bar quite considerably here, hasn't he?
Go from 15-20 to 43.
Yeah.
I mean, even if he could manage 30 a season, it would be extraordinary.
Yeah, I mean, this is the thing, and I know you spoke with Michael Owen last week, and I sort of did a piece with him as well, and just referenced how he just can't get his head around how the fact that Salah wasn't like he played. I think he played a bit of youth football as a left back, I think, when he was in Egypt. So it wasn't as if he had these eye-watering stats all the way up that you sometimes hear of these schoolboy players that scored 100 goals and can't keep it going. It's a completely almost a new direction. I know there's been seasons where he's had good seasons, but this is spectacular. But you would have to say in recent weeks, I mean, it's not as if he's some surprise package that people are just figuring him out. You know what I mean? It's his threat is well known, and yet people have been able to marshal it, and he's scoring different types of goals as well.
Yeah, it's true. It's funny. I mean, I guess he is the opposite to Owen then, who was the number one player and the record breaker at every single level. I was looking ahead at the interview sort of knew it already, but I mean, it was from under 12 on. He was just breaking every record which had ever gone before him, smashing. Yeah,
it was just natural to him. But I mean, there's a guy playing at Sligo now, Adam Morgan, who was a kid at Liverpool who had these records, and Robbie Fowler. There was, you see these guys who all the way up are scoring these goals, and then they struggle. But I don't know.
Didn't struggle.
No, obviously not.
He did just fine.
But do you describe Salah as a poacher? Like these terms that you use.
No.
It doesn't seem right. It doesn't seem fitting for him.
He's more of an all-rounder. I mean, he's the guy. I mean, take just last week, who can crack one in off to the underside of the crossbar.
First goal, yeah.
But then can score in on goal with the dainty finish. I mean, he can sort of score them all.
It's more of an Henry comparison thing,
Yeah.
But
what did you make of Michael Owen?
Well, when he came in to speak to you.
When you spoke to him, how did you find him?
He's not looking for an assertion.
Yeah, I was like, whoa.
How did I do?
Yeah, Willie Mullins was good last night, Joe.
No.
I quite liked him. Yeah, I did. I mean, it's strange. I mean, I'm interested you asked that because I feel there's a follow up comment coming here.
Anyone I mentioned, Michael Owen was coming in to generally thought, oh, good luck. It'd be pretty boring stuff.
Yeah, I don't know.
He surprised me. He was intelligent. He was more thoughtful. I just thought he doesn't show that often enough. Maybe you could argue, and certainly didn't in his playing career.
The one thing is, I think he was like famous so early in his life. You know that maybe he's just getting to this stage now where he's getting a small bit more comfortable. I thought he was chatty enough, you know, and but maybe
not
in
just
his
chatty. He was actually thoughtful. I thought it was good stuff.
But I think maybe when he went straight into the punditry, he was probably very much so still in that old bubble and sort of. You know, it wasn't.
Football
I think he's
speak.
maybe revealing a bit more of himself now than he did when he went into punditry, whereas some people went straight into punditry and straight away started giving you stories.
Yeah.
I mean, you talk about Neville and whoever it might be, but from week one, they were able to equate situations with their own life.
Yeah.
Whereas I don't think Owen maybe did that at the start.
No. So we brought people the breaking news last night, Rich, about Kieran Keane. We haven't confirmed yet, is that right?
Not yet, no, though that news is due to come confirmed from Connacht this week. Just one season in charge for Kieran Keane. It looks like that will be it for the New Zealander, who signed a 3-year contract last summer, but they finished second from bottom in their Conference A in the Pro 14 with just 7 wins from 21 games. It's thought that the nature within the dressing room on behalf of Keane was also a contributing factor to his imminent departure. Another Bennett brother has opted out of the Waterford hurling panel ahead of this year's championship. Kieran Bennett has followed the lead of his brother Shane and declared himself unavailable to manager Derek McGrath. He's to spend the summer travelling, having just completed his 4th year of studies at LIT. The Ballystargard defender made his championship debut in last year's All-Ireland semi-final with Clare and scored a goal in their losing final efforts to Galway. He's also been involved during their league campaign, which saw them relegated this year. Waterford begin their Munster round-robin campaign away to Clare. That is on May the 27th. Stephen Gerrard remains the odds-on favourite to replace Graham Murty as the Rangers manager. Murty sacked today from the Ibrox club just 2 days after a 5-0 thrashing at the hands of Celtic handed the Scottish Premiership title to Rangers. Glasgow rivals Jimmy Nicholl and Jonathan Johansson will take charge of Rangers' remaining 3 games of the season. Managerial novice Gerrard is the clear favourite to replace Murty, with Gary McAllister reportedly lined up as his assistant.
To be fair, Graham Murty has been the guy who takes over after every mess at Rangers for the last few years.
So bit of sympathy for him. Yeah.
What do you make of this then, Gerrard going? I have from lots of people you would really respect their opinions. I've heard people arguing very strongly this is absolutely the right thing for Gerrard to do. It's a great move. It's a sleeping giant. The only way is up, and he has to start somewhere. And I've heard the opposite case as well, that this is insane. They're a billion miles behind Celtic. This will drive somebody with Gerrard's personality, who can be downcast at the best of times, dotty.
Yeah, I suppose, I don't know, I'd like to read the clippings of what everyone said when John Barnes was going to Celtic that time, you know.
Dream ticket, Dan.
Yeah, with Kenny Dalglish, and, you know.
But Pat Nevin was pointing out last night, his win record percentage was actually very good.
Yeah,
believe it or not. I mean,
had some pretty bad losses though. Like that was the problem. You know, your win percentage record as a Celtic or Rangers manager is probably going to be pretty good. You know, so I'm not sure if I buy that. I don't know. Like wouldn't there be this rationale that you go into a job where things are a very low ebb, so the only way is up, that you can make things look good
once he gets money, which is a question
doing much. But yeah, I spoke to people who cover Scottish football last year when Rangers come up, and there was a real sense of, well, you know, it was 2 years ago when they come up, and they just said, well, they don't have the cash, and that's it. They're not going to be able to compete, and that's just the bottom line. And maybe a strong personality of a manager, I mean, maybe that's good for the game, but then that Scottish football web can be a pretty, Celtic Rangers can be a bit of a murky one, and if things aren't going badly, it could unravel much quicker than it would. But in another job,
even if he does taste success, like success at Rangers is going to take time. I think anyone would admit that. And if he does then gain success in at Rangers, he's gained success in Scotland, which isn't necessarily the same as gaining success in England. And there's only so far your name will carry you.
Yeah, I think the fact that Rodgers has had a sort of a free shot there, he's done extremely well. He's led them into a much better side than they were. But I suppose the fact that Rodgers is held in a certain esteem, that if Gerrard was able to create a team that puts it up to them, it would get a bit more respect, I think, outside Scotland. But I do take the general point. Celtic are a good bit ahead, and there is an element of how far he can take this job. After the first season, if they go close, say, I don't know. I don't think that backing is there to suddenly propel them to another level. The European money they would get for early rounds Europa League wouldn't be game-changing stuff.
They've debts of 20 million, and they made a loss even just this year of another 1 million on top of that, and they've no easy way to service that. I know that sounds quite quaint, that amount of money, when we're talking in Premier League language and the television money which comes in, but actually when you're Rangers and you've got those kind of debts, you don't have that much money to spend. The most they spent in a player is 3 million in the last number of years. Yeah,
and it doesn't seem like they have. I mean, they have the players, and I know Martin O'Neill has spoken about it's one of the worst teams he's seen when they're competing for players with League One sides. They're not. It's not back when they had Jörg Alberts and sort of the Laudrups and Celtic to a point are competing with Championship teams and lower Premier League and so on. But Rangers are shopping way below that. So it's a tough one for him. I'm not sure if I would concur with this is a great opportunity for him. I think this could could go badly. Yeah.
Okay. So you mentioned Martin O'Neill there. He was in town, Rich.
Yeah, and he says players must show total commitment if they're thinking of declaring for the Republic of Ireland. In March, you remember, Reading's England-born midfielder Liam Kelly turned down the chance to link up with the squad ahead of the friendly in Turkey. At the time, Kelly cited personal reasons for his decision to opt out, but speaking today at the launch of the Sports Direct FAI Summer Soccer School, O'Neill says he wants to see a desire to wear the green jersey from new recruits.
First of all, you have to be a good player for a start. That does help, and if someone's going to improve your team, then I do believe that managers will chase the players. If some players, not all that brilliant and is humming and hawing about playing, I'm not so sure that the chase is worth it. That's my view.
Fair enough.
Yeah.
We'll bring you a full 10-12 minutes one-on-one with Martin O'Neill, maybe around 7:45 or so. After we preview the Champions League with Graham, we'll bring you some Martin O'Neill from today in Dublin. The snooker continues. We're at quarter-final stages.
We are indeed. Mark Allen, has resumed his World Snooker Championship quarter-final with Kyron Wilson, still tied at 4 frames apiece. On the other table, Barry Hawkins has claimed the first frame of the evening session and now leads Ding Junhui by 6 frames to 3. Very little to choose between the players in any of the 4 quarter-finals. Ali Carter and the 2-time champ Mark Williams are tied at 4 frames each after this afternoon session, while Judd Trump got the better of his first session with John Higgins leading the 4-time champion by 5 frames to 3. England's Wayne Barnes has been confirmed as the referee for the European Champions Cup final between Leinster and Racing on May the 12th. It'll be Barnes' second time to take charge of the decider, having been the man in the middle for the 2010 final. Jerome Garces will referee the Challenge Cup decider, which pits Cardiff Blues against Gloucester. That's the day before on May the 11th, and both finals will be played in Bilbao's San Mamés Stadium.
Italy have their new manager.
Seems so, yeah. Roberto Mancini on the verge of becoming the new Azzurri boss. The position has been vacant since the sacking or resignation, whatever way you want to look at it, of Gianpiero Ventura after they failed to qualify for the World Cup. Mancini currently in charge of Zenit St. Petersburg, who are 6th in the Russian Premier League table as that season winds to a close, but he did hold talks this week with the FIGC about the Azzurri job. Alessandro Costacurta, one of those involved in the discussions, and the commissioner of the Italian Football Federation, Roberto Fabricini, says they'll discuss terms with Mancini once the Russian season ends on May the 13th. He says nothing is exactly tied up, but the very fact of discussing terms suggests that this is fait accompli.
You can't keep a good man down. Generally perceived to be one of the rudest people most at Manchester City had ever met.
Well,
deeply unfriendly. You'd say hello, Roberto, he'd look at you and say nothing.
Yeah. But anyway, international management, you don't have to see people all that often. Yeah, so maybe that's just perfect.
A few more stories. The Ulster GA situation.
Yeah, they're in discussions with BBC Northern Ireland about showing more games in this year's Ulster Senior Football Championship. As things stand, only the final and one of the semis will be shown on either BBC and RTE, and Tyrone boss Mickey Hart is hoping that more games can be televised.
It's good that there's as much football on TV as there is, and I'm sure that they might review that and say that that there generally are very competitive games in Ulster, and I think that the country at large would like to see some of the games that are on, but anyway, I'm sure they'll see deferred coverage or they'll see highlights or whatever, so they won't be lost altogether on them. They just mightn't get it from their armchair when it's on.
Yeah, last story.
One of the key members of Dundalk's backroom team over the past number of years has left the club. Their strength and conditioning coach Graham Byrne is leaving to pursue other options, they say. Byrne was a member of the backroom staff that helped Dundalk win 3 league titles in a row and was part of their Europa League run back in 2016.
Lovely stuff. Thanks for that, Richie. Before we get to break and talk to Graham Hunter, I should tell you, if you'd like to go to Las Vegas, no less, we have teamed up with British Airways to give one lucky listener the chance to experience the sights and sounds of Vegas, which is everything you could possibly need on holiday, from musicals and family entertainment to spas, golf and canyon walks. There are now more ways than ever to fly to Las Vegas from Dublin. British Airways offering connections at Gatwick and Heathrow and looking after all your baggage, in-flight and entertainment and dining needs. Our overall prize features a fabulous trip for 2, featuring return flights, 5 nights in the 5-star Venetian Hotel and €1,000 spending money. Everybody who enters this week will be put into the overall draw. And tonight's winner will also bag 2 tickets to see Alanis Morissette live in concert. To enter the competition, just identify our mystery voice who wants a closer look behind the scenes of Kenny Cunningham's life.
I'll have to follow him on Snapchat and see what he's bloody doing.
Text the word Vegas, your answer and name to 53106. That's 53106. We'll draw tonight's winner at the end of the show. It's Viva Las Vegas with thanks to British Airways. We have Graham Hunter talking Real Bayern next.
Off the Ball on News Talk
in association with Air. Watch every UEFA Champions League and Europa League game on the Air Sport Pack.
Centre Park's Longford Forest Resort will open its doors next summer. But all this week on News Talk, we want to give you and your family a sneak peek of what you can expect. Just visit newstalk.com/centreparks and enter to be in with a chance of winning a break in one of Centre Park's UK resorts for you and the whole family. Get back to nature with spacious lodges, great leisure facilities and more than 100 indoor and outdoor activities, all set on hundreds of acres of woodland. For your chance to win, enter now at newstalk.com/centreparks.
Hi, Kevin O'Brien here of Leinster Lightning and the Irish cricket team.
And I'm Laura Delaney, captain of the Irish women's cricket team.
Cricket is the perfect summer sport where new players are always welcome.
Cricket is one of the fastest growing sports in Ireland.
And with 42 clubs in Leinster, there's one near you.
And they're all on the Cricket Leinster website, cricketleinster.ie.
Cricket Leinster, you're welcome.
It's the challenge of a lifetime. How to make business meetings more interesting. Guess what? We met it at the Red Cow Moran Hotel. Our 14 new meeting rooms stand out from the crowd. We've designed luxurious, innovative spaces to cultivate creativity.